Welcome back to Bazaar. I'm Inka, and as this video goes live, Stelle should already be playable. The game should be live on Steam. I'm going to go through all of the revealed cards. Unfortunately, I am recording this well before the patch notes go out. We don't have access to data mining right now, so this is still going to be speculative first impression sort of stuff. We aren't going to know how they scale in this video. I figure that if I'm going to give a first impression of all the Stelle cards, waiting for exact information isn't going to change how wrong I'm about to be. There's going to be so many interactions that I miss, so many little things that don't occur to me, that whether I have perfect information or just the preview images, I'm still going to get a ton wrong. So I just want to talk about all the cards and get my initial impressions on them. Now, I believe I have all of the cards. At the time of recording this, 7 a.m. US Central Time on the day of the patch, I think there were only 94 to 96, some number like that, actually up on Mobalytics. But by the time the patch goes live, all of them will be known to everybody. One of the creators did not end up posting their own reveal, and those cards have been posted on the Bazaar Discord at this point by a member of the dev team. So I don't really feel bad for revealing cards that are already in the game before that creator got the chance if they still haven't been uploaded. Anyways, that minor disclaimer aside, I will also say I am not going to go out of my way to link every single creator. It should be showing all of their names alongside the images, whoever revealed it. And I will have a link to the Mobalytics resource that I'm currently talking from that has all of this compiled. So shout outs to the original revealer, shout outs to Mobalytics for compiling it all. But going forward, I'm going at a pretty brisk pace. There's 100 of these cards. So we're going to be making some mistakes guaranteed, because I don't want this video to be 3 hours for a proper in-depth discussion of every single card. Now, before we get into it, there is one card I want to show specifically before we talk about any other card. And that card is the Orbital Polisher. Gone are the days of this being one of the worst cards in the game. It is now a small tool, starts at bronze tier, and has a quest. When you complete the quest, the Orbital Polisher gains the text. When you sell this, enchant your leftmost small item of the same or lower tier with shiny, which is a completely insane effect. The quest, however, is to make 99 items fly, which is a huge amount of items. If you're playing a start-stop build, you might actually be able to get multiple Orbital Polishers done in one game. But because you do care about upgrading them, or at least making sure the items you want shiny on don't upgrade past them, I think it's highly unlikely you're ever going to get 2 Orbital Polishers in one run. It probably happens sometimes, but probably less than 1 in 10 runs, I would guess. I don't know. We'll figure it out together. But the reason I need to show Orbital Polisher first is because while all of the cards interact with all the cards and really color how you're going to perceive things, every time we come into an archetype, each card we see in the archetype develops our understanding further. Orbital Polisher specifically is just a universal thing. Every time we see a small item, we should evaluate, hey, is this crazy if it becomes shiny? And again, this will not be a 3-hour long video, but there are a couple of small items that are very obviously much stronger when they become shiny. We'll be talking about those as they occur to me, and you can point out in the comments all the times that I've missed this interaction. Now, getting back to the top of the list, going through the rest of it in alphabetical order, we have the Aerial Turret. It is a bronze starting item. It's a medium weapon drone in tech with a 7-second use time. It deals 10 damage, and every time you use it, it reduces its cooldown by 1 second, obviously down to the minimum of 1. It can't go lower. And while this is flying, this has +1 multicast. So obviously you won't have a build with a guaranteed flying trigger before 7 seconds to make sure Aerial Turret's going to immediately multicast, hit twice, go down to 5 seconds. And my first thought looking at this is that it's going to be like an early mid-game menace sort of card. You get left or right-handed, you get a guaranteed fly trigger, and at that point, this should gun down your opponents in 20 seconds flat before the rest of your board gets involved. I don't know that it's actually going to be a crazy important card in general. Any sort of ramp with this would require a lot of charging, but I can imagine worlds where Aerial Turret does a lot of gross things, just because if you can get this accelerated somehow, this can become a very fast item. And as we go through this list, we're going to see a lot of cards that care when you activate a flying item. We're going to see a lot of cards that could potentially give damage to this. So I think Aerial Turret, while not being a standout crazy card because of this initial 7-second use time, absolutely has a place in a lot of builds, and especially early and mid-game. Moving on to the Air Pressure Rifle, it's very reminiscent of the Arbalest. It is a silver starting tier item, a medium weapon, 10-second use time, and it deals 50 damage with 1 ammo. When your items start flying, this gains 75 damage with a fight. When your items stop flying, reload this. Just like the Arbalest, you want to have a ton of fly triggers as opposed to haste triggers. Scale this up, blow up your opponent on the first hit. And I imagine, also like the Arbalest, there are going to be a ton of builds where this is not enough on its own. You either need a secondary source of damage, or you need to accelerate the absolute hell out of this to get the second shot off in time, because you're not living till 20 seconds, even in the mid-game most of the time. So this is very Arbalest reminiscent to me. I expect it to fulfill a very similar niche. I do think at a glance it looks like it's probably worse than Arbalest, but that's fine. Arbalest is insane. A lot of cards are worse than Arbalest. Moving on to the Airplane Glue. Silver starting small. It is a tool with a 5-second use time, and it stops adjacent items flying. Additionally, when one of your items stops flying, it gains 20 damage and 20 shield for the fight. So that's a very, very strong scaler in the early game. This could potentially, if you have enough start and stop triggers, give you insane amounts of scaling. It has some noted anti-synergy with cards that want to be flying when they activate, like the aerial turret that we just talked about. But this is a really cool card, and it is targeted stop flying, which I think is going to matter a lot. I'm looking forward to seeing all the ways this interacts. This is obviously just like a sort of staple fly interaction card. Obviously, if you're playing shield or damage. If you're playing like a burn build, maybe the passive effect doesn't matter anymore, and this becomes like a really suboptimal card to play. But I really like the design of Airplane Glue. I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do with it. Next up, we have the Altimter. It's a starting silver tier small tool, 8-second use time, charges adjacent items 1 second, and then its cooldown is reduced by 2 for each adjacent flying item. This looks really solid to me. I assume it's scaling up the charge with tier, so at diamond with adjacent flying items, we're looking at charge adjacent items 3 seconds every 4 seconds, which is really solid. I don't have much more to say on the item. It really just depends on how valuable adjacency slots are in Stelle, how easy is it to control which items are flying without those adjacency slots. I can't imagine this is a bad card, but I can imagine it has a lot of competition because adjacency often does. I'm going to be brief with the cards that I already revealed, but I'm going to include them in case people didn't watch that video. Anemometer is a starting silver item. It's a medium tool with a 4-second use time. It starts an adjacent item flying, and it has the passive text when one of your items starts or stops flying, haste it for 1 second, which we assume will scale with tier to up to 3 seconds at diamond. To me, this seems completely insane. It gives you the ability to control to fly one specific card. If you only want one card specifically to fly, you can put this on the edge of your board. It gives you good haste procs, or sorry, good fly procs regardless. And a start, stop, fly build. It's going to haste everything for ages. Even if you just start your whole board flying at diamond tier, this is still going to haste your whole board for 3 seconds with no further synergy. This just looks like an incredibly good card that I expect to see a lot of. Next up, we have the Angle Grinder Drone. It's a bronze starting tier small item. It's a weapon, tool, and drone, and it's a 5-second use time. It deals 10 damage, and more importantly, a tool where drone starts flying. So this seems like the idea is if you're playing some sort of wide weapon style that involves fly synergy, this probably gets thrown in, but it's mostly here to target and fly tools and drones. But then I say that and I look at it being a tool or drone itself, and it can target itself. So if you're trying to specifically fly another tool or drone, this is actually just at best a 50% shot of doing it. I think this isn't really for like getting a specific card flying. This is more like my build generally cares about stuff flying, and my build cares about having a bunch of small weapons I can buff up. And we'll talk about some of the keystones of that build later, because that's definitely an archetype Stelle has. Next up, we got the Aviators. They're a bronze starting item. They're a small apparel with a 5-second use time. They shield for 10, and when you burn, charge this 1 second. I'm just going to be upfront with you. I don't know what this does. I'm not going to theory craft about it. Eventually, someone will show me. I'll get wrecked out on the ladder. I'll be like, oh, that's what the Aviators do. But on the surface, I'm like, why do I want a potentially kind of fast shield item? I don't have an answer to that. Someday I will. I don't have it yet. Next up, we got the Balloon Engine, a bronze starting item. It's a medium vehicle with a 6-second use time, and an item starts flying when it goes off. When your items start flying, burn 3. I actually think that's not a terrible item, just in a vacuum. Obviously, on like day 1, day 2, when you don't have a full board, you're not doing that much flying. This isn't that much burn at bronze tier. But I imagine with any amount of burn buffs at like silver tier or higher, this thing starts doing a substantial amount of burn and being a viable early to mid game plan. At a 6-second use time just to start an item flying though, I can't really envision a world where this is ever good in the late game. Like even on diamond victory boards, I imagine on day 10, you are desperately trying to get rid of this thing. I don't really see it. Maybe when your item starts flying is just a good enough trigger point that this is an insane amount of burn and I'm underestimating it, and the active effect is not really relevant. But I look at the base value of it and I don't see it. Maybe I'm underhyping it. Maybe it's actually crazy, but I don't feel it just looking at it on the surface. Next up, we've got the Battle Balloon, a silver tier starting item, medium vehicle with a 6-second use time. An item starts flying and it shields for 20. When you burn, it charges this 2 seconds. Now, ignoring anything I'm about to say mechanically, flavor-wise, that's sick as hell. The Battle Balloon, it gives you a source of armor, and the hotter it is, the faster it goes. That just makes sense. Now, what does it actually do for my build? Like I said, with Aviators, a potentially kind of fast shield generator doesn't seem that crazy to me. However, with Aviators and Battle Balloon, we're starting to see redundancy for a burn build generating shield quickly. If there's a way for a burn build generating shield quickly to scale that shield, maybe we're cooking something. Anyways, the battle drone is up next. It's a silver starting tier. It's a medium weapon drone and tech with an 8-second use time. I'm going to be honest, I've been saying this a lot. I have 100 cards to go still, basically. I'm going to stop saying the tags. You can look on your own screen. I'm sorry. It deals 40 damage when it activates, and if you have another tool tech drone or vehicle, this has +1 multicast for each. And with the number of those we've already seen, I have to imagine that if you're running this, it is just 5x multicast, and it's not even that hard to do. 8-speed 5x multicast 200 damage is not even bad on day 2 or 3, right? Like, that's just a lot of damage up front already. You combine it with any sort of damage buffs. I think this is just an early to mid game menace. I mean, by day 9, this is not going to be super impressive unless there's a crazy amount of damage dealing available to Stelle. Yeah, I just think this is a good beatdown card. This feels like a very similar card to Shark Claws, except I think it has a much higher chance of actually making it to a final board, at least like days 10 through 12. Next up, we have the Binoculars. They start at bronze here. It's a small item. When you buy or upgrade this, get or upgrade the target acquisition skill. And at the start of each fight, your target acquisition's crit chance increases by 2%. What is the skill? Target acquisition says your flying items have plus 10% crit chance. That is the baseline bronze version. I don't know how much crit chance you get for upgrading it from this. I'd assume 5 or 10. And then after that, I assume you can at least get 2% crit chance per day from the Binoculars. I assume that it stays this value and you're just getting this part to get the flat crit chance upgrade when you buy it. Don't really know. I got lost in the minutia for a second about how this might work with various min-maxing bullshit. We'll find out when we play with it. The important thing is, this just is meta-scaling crit chance for all flying items at almost no cost. This is insane. This is going to get used all the time. We are going to have to just get used to getting crit by Stelles and be like, oh, their target acquisition said 60%, huh? Around day 10 or so. I expect this to be a very, very common, very, very powerful thing in Stelle builds. Next up, we got the Birdcage. It is a silver starting tier medium item. It is 5-second use time. Adjacent small items stop flying, and when your items stop flying, shield 100. I like the idea of this item. I completely and utterly cannot visualize how this works. It's like the first time I saw the Poison Mac reveals, where I was like, okay, so these all do self-poison and things when you self-poison. I'm sure it does something, but I can't put it into my head right now. That's how I feel when I see so many different cards all saying start flying, stop flying, scale on X, and do Y on the other trigger. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of them. It's so hard to put it all into my head individually. So getting over my inability to conceptualize the build, I think that combining stuff like this and airplane glue with a bunch of start flying triggers, ideally ones that are small, I assume those exist, is a ton of early game shield. I don't know how likely this is to make it into the late game, but this is definitely something I can see, at least in the early and mid game, being quite powerful. Next up, we have the Blowtorrch. It is a bronze starting tier, small tool. I can't stop reading the tags. It is a 4-speed burn 3. If you're playing a build that cares about tools and burning, maybe it's good enough. But this is like the most standard item I've ever seen. Next up, we've got Bomb Voyage. It is a gold starting tier, 6-second use time. It deals 100 damage and burn 10. When this stops flying, use this 6 times and destroy it. So at gold tier, that is 600 damage and 60 burn when it stops flying. And presumably that'll happen right around 6 seconds, like in an ideal world, right? It goes off and then it's get destroyed right after, I guess. So it will be 700 damage and 70 burn, but honestly, potato. I don't understand the item destruction Stelle builds yet, so I can't comment on this. But I will say that scaling this 6 times more effectively on any plus burn value makes me think that this is probably a way to blow your opponents up pretty damn effectively. Next up, we've got the Box Cutter. Starting at bronze, is a 4-second speed. It deals 10 damage and permanently loses 1 damage each time you use it. When you level up, it gains 10 damage. And yeah, that's infinitely more sane than the Box Cutter that briefly dominated the meta as doodlies would randomly pick them up on day 1 from the jungle ruins. This is fine. I think at higher tiers, like if you can find an early silver one, this is much more likely to be relevant to a build. I don't look at this and think I want to play with Box Cutter, but the same thing happened with Blowtorrch. It's definitely going to fit on builds. You're playing a wide aggro Stelle based on damage, you throw a Box Cutter in. You need a tool, you throw a Box Cutter in. There are also just plenty of reasons in Stelle to buy tools. We'll be finding some of them in a little while. Next up, we've got Buster. It's a gold starting tier. When your vehicles or drones start flying, this starts flying. When this stops flying, Deal damage equal to 20% of your enemy's max health, then destroy this and an enemy item for the fight. So it's good that this isn't a small item, obviously, because if a small item were doing symmetrical item destruction, it would be very, very powerful. For a medium item doing it and only dealing 20% of your enemy's max health, I don't know. I'm not convinced this is that powerful. I'm kind of glad I'm not. I don't want item destruction to be one of the strongest things in the game in general. But also, just thematically, when the bomb stops flying, it blows up and destroys itself and other things. Yeah, that makes sense. It hit the ground. I really like that thematically. Next up, we have Karakara. It's a bronze medium item with a 5-second use time. It deals 5 damage, and then this and an adjacent item start flying. Your flying weapons have plus 15 damage. This feels like a really core part of those sort of early mid-range aggro Stelle builds that I was talking about. Your flying weapons have plus 15 damage. You can get a bunch of weapons and start them all flying. Sounds very, very strong. In some ways, this is kind of like a worse Shark Claws, but Shark Claws is like the gold standard of scaling weapon damage, so that's fine. I think this is just obviously good enough, and especially when you have things that care a lot about the flying, it can be way better than good enough. Next up, we have Chicken Cannon. It's a card I really, really want to be insane, but I'm not sure how reliable it is to use this thing. It's a bronze medium item. It is a 7-second use time to deal 15 damage, and adjacent shield items gain plus shield equal to this item's damage for the fight. So if there is a way to give shield as damage to other items down the line, the combo is there. We see what Chicken Cannon does. I don't remember that card existing, but it definitely might. There's also a chance you can make really cool builds with stuff like Sharp Corners and very rapid shield triggers to make Chicken Cannon buff your shield items and your shield items buff your Chicken Cannon. We'll see how it works. It's a super cool effect. I have no idea how to build around it just yet. Next up, we have the Clo Hat. It's a medium silver item. Your rerolls cost 1 less gold for each apparel you have, and it itself is an apparel, so it will always be at least 1. Obviously, you don't want to spend 8 gold on this if you only have like 10 gold on you on day 3. But despite that, if you have even a single apparel, this is incredibly good. It might be worth it if you have like 1 apparel to pick up a Clo Hat and get 2 gold essentially at every store you go to for the rest of the game. This is a really strong economy card, but it's kind of unintuitive. It's hard for me to evaluate exactly how good it is because every other economy card we've ever had gave you money as opposed to reducing the cost of things. It looks strong though. I'll be happy to pick it up when I can. Next up, we have the Clockwork Disc. It's a small 4-second speed bronze item. It deals 10 damage, and every time it goes off, it starts or stops flying. So we've talked a lot about how you're going to want to start or stop flying for various other triggers, how you might have a mid-range weapon, Vanessa. There's a lot of places I can imagine this mattering, where you want your items to start flying, trigger one thing, stop flying, trigger another thing. You just want a fast flying weapon. There are so many different ways I can imagine Clockwork Disc fitting into a build. I have to imagine this is a staple card, but we'll see how often it actually gets played once we get to see Stelle in action. Also, is this a Frisbee? I don't know what this is if it's not a Frisbee, but if it's a Frisbee, I don't know why it's not a toy. Next up, we have the Dagger Wing, a large gold tier item. It's an 8-second use time to deal 150 damage, and when one of your items starts or stops flying, there are the magic words, this gains 150 damage to the fight. This seems like a standard big build around item, one of the things you're looking to go into out of that like early mid-game flying aggro build. You see a Dagger Wing, you're like, boom, there it is. That's what we're doing. Dagger Wing looks very strong to me. I don't know if it's going to be fast enough, but because there's so many fly-based haste effects and there's a couple of charge items we haven't seen yet, I can imagine it is definitely good enough. I'm looking forward to playing with it and seeing how strong it really is in practice, because the scaling numbers are very, very high, but 8-second use time, I think that's probably just about ideal if you're killing them on the second hit. You really don't want to see a 10-second use time like we saw on the air rifle, I think. I think 10 seconds is just slow enough, or just fast enough rather, that it doesn't kill in the first hit, and just slow enough that you don't get to 20 seconds. I think 8 seconds is a pretty good timing for something like this, where you're never expecting it to kill in the first hit, but the second hit can do monstrous things. Next up, we have Delivery Drone. It starts at bronze tier. It's a medium item. It's a 4-second activation, and it charges another flying item 1 second. At the start of each day, you get a loot item. So obviously this is just a good item to have. It is an infinitely less complicated boomerang. It is a good economy item in that respect. But also, this could be good in a build. I think a lot of the time with Stelle, you probably have like your whole build is flying and a lot of items are stopping and starting, and it's hard to predict what this will charge. But I can imagine there are builds where you have like 1 flying item specifically, and just having this say charge exactly that item is very, very good. I think Delivery Drone is kind of niche in terms of how it'll fit into boards. It will usually be an economy item, but I absolutely think there'll be strong builds utilizing this on the board to charge a specific and your only flying item. Drafting Table is a medium silver item. It's an 8-second use time. Charge your non-tool items 1 second for each tool you have. And at the start of each day, if you have 3 or more tools, upgrade a lower tier vehicle or drone. The active on Drafting Table is so clunky that I can't envision how it works, but I'm pretty sure it's not very good. Maybe I'm wrong and it's crazy, but I cannot envision how this is going to fit on a board and do crazy things. Now, that said, I think it's mostly here for the passive effect, right? This is essentially old Hammer except for vehicles or drones. Next up, we have the Eject Button, a small silver item with a 6-second use time. It says your vehicle is to stop flying. When your items stop flying, shield 10, and the first time you fall below half health each fight, use this. We've seen similar effects with stop flying shield a couple of times. I still don't really know what the payoff for this is. And stopping your vehicles from flying as a universal effect seems like it might disable this from working in a lot of builds. I don't know. I just don't look at Eject Button and feel any hype for some reason. I see all your vehicles stop flying, and I'm like, but I'm Stelle. That's the thing I want to be doing. And it's not rational. I can't understand how this fits into builds yet. But I look at this, I'm like, why is this good? And I'm sure there's a reason. I'm sure there are builds where you just want to stop a ton of things from flying immediately, possibly just to make them fly again. I think there's a use for this, but I cannot see what it is. And I think it has nothing to do with these bottom 2 lines of text, unless you have some absolutely crazy ways to buff that shield number. Next up, we finally made it to F. God, there's a lot of these. We have the Firebomb. It is a small bronze item, 4-second use time, burns for 6, 1 ammo, and when you use it, it stops flying. But when this item starts flying, reload it. So theoretically, if you can make it start flying over and over and over again, it will be burn 6 on a 4-second cooldown, which is better than a lighter. I have nothing else to say about the card. Moving on. Next up, we have Fire Hose, a medium silver item, a 5-second use time. It slows all items, yours included, for 1 second, and it cleanses half your burn. Now, obviously, there's a lot of synergy for this sort of slow archetype. We're going to see what this can do down the line with other items. On its own, Fire Hose is terrible. That's pretty self-evident. But how strong it is depends entirely on the archetype that it's going to fit into. Next up, we have the Flare Gun, a small silver item with a 5-second use time and 1 ammo. It burns 6 and a vehicle starts flying. Then passively, while your enemy is burned, reduce the cooldown of your vehicles by 1 second. So that passive text is pretty damn good. A small item that can reduce your cooldowns of your more important items by 1 second is very, very strong. The burn and the vehicle starts flying, those seem nice. I don't know that those are like irrelevant. I imagine a vehicle starts flying will always be a good effect and still. But I think we're here entirely because if you're playing a vehicle-based build, being able to just give your vehicles minus 1 second cooldown is a huge deal. It seems very strong to me. It's just a question of do we have board space for this effect and still, and we will not know until tonight. Next up, we have the Flashbang. It is largely the card you remember with one major change. It is a small silver item, 7-second use time, 1 ammo, slow all enemy items for 3 seconds, but now it has the passive text. When this item starts flying, reload it. So now if you're playing a flying build, this essentially has, well, not necessarily. If you're playing a flying build, this has at least 1 ammo. If it starts flying immediately and you can't stop it, it will only have 1 ammo. But if you're able to stop it from flying and then re-trigger flying over and over again, it will have unlimited ammo. Now that said, I barely believe that 20 seconds exists, so having the 3rd ammo at 21 seconds and the 4th at 28 and the 5th at 5 seconds in the sandstorm, that all barely matters to me. But what does matter is you can much more reliably get a second use of the Flashbang Grenade, and if you're full hasting your board basically indefinitely, we've seen stuff like Anemometer that might be doable, then maybe Flashbang is almost permanent slow up time on your opponent, and that's kinda crazy. Oh, I think Fly Cycle was revealed in the trailer. I was trying to figure out why it wasn't credited to anyone. This looks like it was from the trailer though. Anyways, Fly Cycle is a small bronze item with a 6-second cooldown and an item starts flying. It doesn't have the little parentheses as we might expect it to have on item if it did multiple items with higher tiers, so it probably goes down in cooldown as you rank it up, and I find that kind of uninteresting. I imagine there are boards where you put this in, but I can't really imagine why targeting a random item with flight is going to be the best thing you can do for a board slot in a build. Maybe you just want some builds where you just have like 10 flying items. So having a small item that triggers flight is all it needs to be, and going off every 3 seconds at diamond is actually really good. I have no idea. There could definitely be worlds where Fly Cycle is really, really good, but right now I'm not sure what that world is. Next up, we have the Freefall Simulator, a medium bronze item. At 5-second speed, an adjacent item starts or stops flying. And the only number on this is the cooldown, so it must go down to 2 seconds at Diamond, which honestly makes a lot of sense for Freefall Simulator thematically. All it does is bounce you around and be terrifying really rapidly. I don't know. Presumably there's a build that cares about this since the card exists, but I don't feel like a medium item that does nothing but stop flying 1 card at a time is actually that impressive, even with a 2-second cooldown. There's obviously a huge chance I'm wrong about that, but either way, moving on to Gatling Gun, which has been reworked. It is a silver starting tier, 6-second use time. It deals 25 damage, gains 5% crit chance every time it goes off, and just baseline has multicast too. And it has the passive text. The first time you use this, the item's cooldown is halved for the fight. I don't know what halved means. Is that -3 seconds or -50%? That's a kind of weird wording hiccup. So I'm going to assume that's -3 seconds and not -50%, or there is custom code where it's -50% of its adjusted value, because we have moved past -50% now that we're in the world of additive cooldown reduction. But ignoring that and assuming it works in a way that makes sense, it's just like a kind of mid weapon. Like I can imagine running this, but in the late game, 6 seconds to start going off, and then let's assume it's hasted forever after it triggers the first time. It's going to be going off every 1.5 seconds. It's not bad. I don't think this is a bad card until at least like day 13, but I don't think this is a good card, and you have to have a ton of synergy on like days 9+ for it to make sense to keep running it. Hey, it's Goggles again. Goggles is a bronze tier starting item. It's a 6-second use speed for shield 20. We don't care about that at all. We're glad it has an effect so it can eat crowd control. The reason you care about Goggles is when you haste, adjacent items gain 3% crit chance for the fight, not when you haste the Goggles, when you haste anything. So this is a huge amount of crit scaling on adjacent items. If you're not capped on adjacency, it seems real easy to use these, use some of the haste cards we've seen like Anemometer to get 100% crit chance on your carry items, and that is a very, very powerful effect for a small item. Next up, we have the Grabinator. It's a medium tool with an 8-second use time. It destroys the leftmost medium item, I assume on your opponent's board, otherwise this would be insane, and transforms this into it for the fight. So first of all, there are items like quest knock items where you know that if you transform into them, you just don't actually get the quest. Now, obviously, that's still okay because you ate your opponent's quest item, I guess. Yeah, no, it's okay because you do that. And it is target sniping medium items, so there are a lot of boards where like the only medium is Julian or the only medium is the quest item. That's way less common, but there are definitely more boards where like the only medium is Julian. It says leftmost though, not random, so this is a thing where players can start to counterplay it once we get better at the game. I like this. I would love for way more items to say leftmost when they destroy stuff and give counterplay like this. I don't know that I think Grabinator is good, but I think it's funny and I'm interested in trying it out. I think the fact that it transforms into it is only marginally better than this item just destroying itself. I want to be clear, destroy the leftmost medium item is the main thing this is doing. Gyro Gunsight's a bronze small item. When one of your weapons start flying, it gains 20 damage for the fight. That's really good. You know that aggro weapon build that wants to start and stop flying a lot that I keep alluding to? Yeah, it's just constant plus 20 damage every time something gains flying, and you can stop them flying to give them the ability to trigger this again. It seems really good. I'm not sure if it's cracked, but it seems really good. This seems like one of the core early aggro items for Stelle to build around. Next up, we've got the Hammer. It is a small silver item. It has a 6-second use time to deal 40 damage. Who cares? You know what Hammer's really for, but it's been reworked. It's a quest now. When you sell this, upgrade your leftmost item of a lower tier, which is very different. It used to be a passive item that went off over and over and over again, but now it's a targeted controlled item, but it is tier restricted in what it can affect still. And the way you do the quest is by buying 10 tools. It's obviously still great. It's not as good as Old Hammer for sure, but Old Hammer was busted. I was very worried when I first heard about Stelle getting released. I was like, wait a second. If we're playing the character where Hammer's just a card, that character is going to be super broken. You're going to find Hammer in like half your runs. So Hammer needed to be reworked to be less consistent value, and this is still really good. It's going to take you a while to buy 10 tools. We haven't seen that much economy so far. I think 10 might be a little bit on the high side for Hammer here, but it's still a very, very powerful effect. My main concern with it is a lot of the time, I imagine by the time you finish your quest, you might have already found the upgrade for the thing you cared about. We'll see how it plays out. I'd rather them lean on the side of caution with Hammer's initial values than be crazy with it, because it was one of those cards like Pendulum going into Mac, where it stood out as being so powerful it could be egregiously problematic. For those who don't remember, before Mac release, Pendulum gave you like 50% crit chance on adjacent items or some insane deranged number like that. It was actually better. So I'm glad Hammer's taking a big nerf. It still looks very good. Hang Glider looks to be another one of those trailer reveals. It's a 5-second speed and your small items start flying. When your items stop flying, deal 100 damage. I can't articulate why I don't believe in Hang Glider. Hang Glider looks like it could potentially be a very good mid-game item, maybe even early late game. My problem with it is it feels like you're building your whole board around Hang Glider, and 100 damage really isn't that much. You need a ton of stop flying triggers so this makes sense. Eject Button does stop all your vehicles flying, but small items typically aren't vehicles. This would be a lot better if Eject Button as a combo. This would work a lot better if Eject Button worked on drones, but thematically that makes no sense. I'm not envisioning what the Hang Glider build is, but I'm willing to, like, this looks like it could be very strong. I just can't see how it works yet. Next up, we have the Hanger, a large gold item. All non-vehicle and non-tool cooldowns are increased by 0.5 seconds. Your vehicle and tool cooldowns are decreased by 0.5 seconds. I wonder if library is going to be changed to basically this exact form going forward. Regardless, I'm not hyped about this. Library at gold and Mac is something that I consistently found myself playing and being like, oh wow, this sucks. My build is not nearly good enough. Diamond library back when it was a 2-second difference was absolutely broken, but gold library in my experience was never worth the board slots. So seeing this same effect, not super thrilled about it. I will say all non-vehicle, non-tool cooldowns, much better than all weapon cooldowns. That's going to pretty universally shut down anything but an opposing Stelle. However, if it's just 1-1, I played with library and been unimpressed by it against weapon builds at gold. I don't think this is going to be that strong. Maybe I'm just a hater for this type of card. I just don't think library is that good in its current state, and I think Hanger is looking to be worse than current library. Next up, we have Headset again. It's a small bronze item. When your item starts flying, haste it for 1 second. And yeah, that's just good. That's a lot of haste if you have a bunch of things that are starting flying rapidly. It's sort of just 1/3 of what Anemometer does, but Anemometer is a medium silver item, so that makes sense. I think this is obviously a good item. I can see this going all the way to your final board. I can see this getting replaced by other things in the mid game and helping you transition around through a various different set of flying cards in the early and mid game. I just think it's a good Swiss Army knife sort of card. It's not Swiss Army knife in that it does a lot of things, but in that it fits into a lot of different flying builds, right? Hasting your flying shit is probably useful in a ton of different Stelle builds, and for a bronze small item with a passive effect, no less, what more could you want? I was going to say I feel like I've got bias towards my own children, but it's just that we've talked about the best 3 cards from my set review. I'll talk a lot more shit on the last 2. Anyways, moving on to Hydraulic Squeezer. It's been completely reworked. It's a medium silver item, 6-second use time. It charges your flying items 1 second, and when you use another tool, charge this 1 second. So I want to like this idea, because I can see that being flying and being a tool are not mutually exclusive, right? So your flying tools all charge this 1 second, and this charges all your flying tools 1 second. Maybe there's a way to cook something crazy with that, but I'm not 100% sure. This is a weird one. It's either going to do something super broken or immediately underwhelm you and get cut from your board. I'm hoping this is one of those cards where I can hold it trying to make the dream come true, but I might just think this doesn't do anything. I really need experience with Stelle to evaluate what the hell this does in a real world situation. Next up, we have the Hydrogen Tank, a medium silver item. Again, it's been reworked. Haste adjacent items for 1 second every 5 seconds, and if you have a vehicle, you use this at the start of each fight. When this is destroyed, burn 100. I like the idea. We need to see how the other items interact with this, right? There's got to be something that destroys your other items in an intentional fashion for this to make sense. I know there are a couple of items in Stelle that say when this is destroyed, but in my brief skim, I did not put it together as an archetype what this does. I don't know that I care that much about start a fight, haste an item for up to 3 seconds. It's definitely not bad. Like, this is clearly not a bad card without the passive effect. I don't know. For some reason, I look at this, I'm like, start a fight, haste for 3 seconds for a medium item, and then it haste again at 5 seconds. It's a lot of acceleration, but do I have items in Stelle that just kill my opponent when they go off? I don't know. I feel like I'm being needlessly harsh on Hydrogen Tank, and this effect is genuinely good. But I think the reason I'm being harsh on it is I'm looking at when this is destroyed, burn 100, and I'm just like, what does this do? The answer is it goes on the left side of your arm and kills the guy running Grabinator. Next up, we have the Ice Bomb, similar to the Fire Bomb from earlier. It has 1 ammo, 4-second activation, it freezes 1 item for 0.5 seconds, and it stops flying, and when it starts flying, reloading it. I don't remember Stelle having very many, if any, freeze items, and this is not a very good freeze item. This exists, and I have nothing else to say about it. Next up, we have the Inflight Meal, a medium silver item. It's a 6-second activation that heals for 50. When your items start flying, this gains 50 heal for the fight. That could potentially be a huge healing item, and at 6 seconds, it's not too painfully slow. This might be a good enough heal item. However, I think much more often, rather than looking to get this to be a big heal value, maybe what you're doing with it is when you sell this, gain 5% max health. That's just a damn good effect for 4 gold. 4 gold for 5% max health every day of the week. That's way better than chocolate bars. Additionally, though, it has a quest to make 50 items fly, and if you complete that, it has double max health gain. 4 gold for 10% max health every day of the week. Sign me up. I do wonder if this line will scale with tier, or if only the values up here scale with tier. If this is 10-15% at higher tiers, this is going to give Stelles, at least like veteran players who know to like do the inventory management bullshit with this, this is going to give good Stelle players a ton of health if the max health value scales with tier. This is going to be a very powerful item that you're pretty much always happy to see. And also in the early game, you're not even upset to buy this for the health value, right? You buy it on like day 2 with a bunch of random start flying triggers. It heals for 300 every 6 seconds with a fight. And then you can sell it on like day 4 or 5 once you finally have something better to do with your board space. It just seems like a very good item. Hey, it's Jetpack. It's a small bronze item with a 5-second activation time. Haste the item to the left of this for 1 second. And if this is flying, haste the item to the right of this for 1 second. So now that I'm not hyping it up for card reveals, I think the fact this is adjacency locked basically kills the card, and I'm never looking forward to playing with Jetpack. The simple truth for Jetpack is in a class with goggles and adjacency controlled flying triggers, I can't really imagine Jetpack being the best thing I can do. It's absolutely not terrible. There are way worse cards. I can see this being on my board for a period of time at various points in various runs, but I can't really imagine even a mid to late game board, like day 6 or 7, wanting to run Jetpack. This does not seem like a good source of haste in this character. I think virtually everything else is going to be better. And it's because it's not that much haste. It wants to be flying specifically. A lot of the fly triggers are not targeting Jetpack and are adjacency locked, which Jetpack is not trying to haste something that is flying Jetpack as the purpose. It's just a mess. Once you have too many adjacency cards you care about, you just get adjacency locked, and Jetpack is not going to make the cut in Stelle with what else we've seen. Next up, we got the Joystick. It's a small bronze item with a 4-sec activation, and it charges adjacent drones 1 second. Now, there's only 2 ways this can scale. It goes down to 1 second cooldown, or it goes up to charge 4 seconds. Either way, that's a lot of charging, right? They're both pretty crazy. They're both basically the same effect. That's not true. Being 1 second speed is definitely better because you're less likely to waste your additional overcharge, because charge just gets wasted if you go over the activation time. But ignoring that, this is just a lot of charging. It's a small, fast item, which generally has value, especially for other items that might care about Joystick being a flying item, because you can make it fly and then going off over and over again. I just have a hard time imagining this is not good somewhere. There's got to be a build that cares about this. A fast charge item will always be good. Next up, we've got the Kite, and it's a bronze medium item with a 6-second activation that starts an item flying. When your items start flying, gain 3 regen for the fight. This feels tremendously less impressive than the active portion of the bento box. I don't know, 3 regen's not that much. I feel like they could afford to push the regen value on this a little bit. It's obviously not bad. If you have one of those start-stop spam builds, this is probably worth it, but like, wouldn't you rather be buffing something else than the low regen value on the Kite triggering more often? I don't look at Kite and feel hype. I look at this and it's sort of similar to how I feel about Jetpack, where like, yes, Kite is doing something. Yes, there are way worse items than Kite, but I can't imagine that even on like day 3, I'm looking to run Kite. Next up, we have the Launch Tower, a gold large item with a 6-second speed to use another vehicle. At the start of each fight, all your vehicles start flying. Your flying weapons have plus 100 damage. This basically comes down to what are the other vehicles, right? That's all you need to think about. Is there a vehicle where activating it every 6 seconds is crazy? Are there vehicles that desperately need to be flying and flying immediately? Are there incredibly small, fast vehicles where you start like 7 small items flying all at once and give them 100 damage each? I cannot judge Launch Tower in a vacuum. I need to be playing runs to see how good this is. I am certain that it is not bad. It doesn't use all of them. It uses a specific other vehicle, so I was misevaluating this. There's 2 different halves of how you can play this. One is by buffing up a lot of small weapons. The other is by using specifically one vehicle. And theoretically, a board could do both, but it's probably going to lean into one or the other pretty hard. Again, though, I just need to see this in action. I can't really tell what it does, although I will mention that Crane is a vehicle, and I want to believe. Next up, we have the Lava Roller, a medium gold item with a 10-second activation to burn a 30 and destroy an adjacent item for the fight. So there's the way to destroy that hydrogen tank. When you destroy an item, double this item's burn for the fight. I don't know if that would go off before or after the burn. I feel like I should. I don't. I would hope it goes off before. But the order here makes me think you burn, then you destroy, and then you gain the scaling afterwards, right? If you had this far left adjacent to a hydrogen tank that was a 3-second haste, then this would go off 6 seconds into the fight, blowing up the hydrogen tank at diamond tier. And we don't know if the hydrogen tank's burn value scales with tier, or if it's just the haste value, or if it's something else weird. I'm inclined to think that this is fine, but unexceptional. I want to play with it and be proven wrong. I just don't really get the self-destroy archetype in Stelle yet. And I'm painfully aware that it's making you more and more vulnerable to freeze, but at the same time, I think the idea is once your items destroy themselves, the game's over. Who cares if you're more vulnerable to freeze? I really need to play with this. This is one of the hyper cards that I cannot process. Where I'm like, I know it does something. I don't know if it's broken in a good way or in a bad way. I have a hard time imagining it's mid. I just can't tell what it does yet. Next up, we have the Lightning Butterfly, a small silver item with a 4-second activation. It deals 5 damage, and every time it goes off, your flying weapons gain 5 damage for the fight. At the start of each fight, this starts flying immediately. So again, for that small flying build, this is really, really good. You're running a bunch of small items that are all dealing damage, all flying. You have stuff like Karakara to buff up the damage. You have this going off to buff up the damage. It's essentially small shark claws. It's a lot worse than shark claws, right? Silver shark claws, I believe, are 20 damage. Am I misremembering? Is it more than that? Yeah, shark claws are 20 damage with silver. So obviously this is a lot worse than shark claws, but you're running this alongside stuff like Karakara and Gunsight, I would imagine. This looks fine. It looks unimpressive as hell on its own, but with all of its tags in addition to this effect, I imagine it fits into a lot of aggro builds. Does it make it to the late game? Probably not, but I can see it doing good work in the first several days. And when I say several, I don't mean like 3 or 4, I mean like 6 or 7 at least. Next up, we have the Lightning Rod, a large weapon with no active portion. When any player freezes or slows, deal 30 damage. When an enemy freezes or slows one of your items, this is targeted instead. So obviously there's some big combo potential with stuff like the Fire Hose here, where slowing all items suddenly deals 30 times the number of items damage. Unfortunately, it only actually serves as a lightning rod and eats CC from your enemy. Your Fire Hose will still be hitting your own items, but it does make the rest of your board functionally immune to slow and freeze, which is not a minor thing at all. It is initially unclear to me, how does this work against something that says like slow 3 items? Does this eat one of them or all 3 of them? Or does this eat one of them and fizzle the other 2, which are meaningfully different for the purposes of things that scale off of items slowed, for instance. I'm hyped for it though. I like the idea of Lightning Rod a lot, of just spamming out statuses and using Lightning Rod to kill your opponent while effectively making yourself immune to those same statuses. It's a very cool card and I want to cook with it. Do I think it's going to be meta? Unless Stelle has like a 7 item build that's able to kill your opponent and just has room for Lightning Rod in it, probably not. I think Lightning Rod is not going to be a super common item, but it's going to be very cool when we get to see it. Next up, we have the last of the cards that I got to reveal, the Low Roller, a medium silver item with a 4-speed activation, haste 1 for 1, and this has +1 multicast for each adjacent tool. I very genuinely don't feel super hyped for Low Roller. I want this card to be better than I'm giving it credit for. I will mention that someone pointed out that it is in fact friend-shaped. I did not notice this initially. Despite the fact that it is a face, my opinion remains unchanged. I think there are better ways to generate haste in Stelle. I think an item that just generates haste for other items at the cost of 2 board slots in the late game is generally not that impressive. I think this will be very strong in the early and mid game, especially if you can buff it up with the rocket boots. It'll be kind of crazy. But as a baseline, looking at it, I'm just not particularly excited. And of all the silver items I can buy on day 2 and 3 that might potentially change the course of the game and really impact my build, I'm not super hyped to be spending 8 gold on haste 3 items for 1 second every 4 seconds. I feel like in the early game, there are generally bigger, more powerful ways to boost up my board. Next up, we have the Lunchbox, a medium silver item. At the start of each day, get a small food item from any hero, and when you sell a food item, gain 1 regen. That's just good. That's just a solid enough economy item with plus upside on top of that to give you some passive regen. That seems straight up, no arguments, good. Next up, we have the Mag Shield, a large gold item, 7-second activation. Your other items start or stop flying, and when your items start flying, shield 100. I think this is just really good. I think you can make a board where your board's largely just based around adding more start and stop flying triggers, and this will be an obscene amount of shield, just like an absolutely comical amount of shield. Not like something game breaking, not anything that scales on its own, but enough to tank through pretty much any of those early mid-game aggression builds you see so often with stuff like Shark Claws and Cannonade. And then I think there's almost certainly a way to fit offenses into the build that will kill your opponent. I don't know what it is. It might be offensive enchantments. It might be other items that scale up with start or stop flying. There are a ton of ways to go about it. But I think Mag Shield just fits in so well with what Stelle wants to do and gives you so much defensive power on top of it that it is going to be one of the very common, powerful ways we see Stelle get built. Next up, we have the Marshalling Lights, a small silver item. It's a 5-second activation to stop 2 items from flying, and assuming that this scales with tier, it's either getting faster or stopping more items. Both largely accomplish the same thing. And yeah, I mean, if you're playing something like Mag Shield, like all these builds that are trying to spam out start or stop triggers, Marshalling Lights are going to be good. It's just an item giving you more triggers on the thing that makes your build function. It seems transparently good. It's just incredibly hard to process at a glance. Like when we all first saw self-poison items, we were like, how does this actually work as a build? Because there was just too much text. There are too many start triggers, too many stop triggers, too many different ways to scale them and activate them. And it's hard to process before we see it in play, but I am certain that this is a good item. Next up, we have the Molten Ball Blaster, a medium bronze item, 14-second speed. It deals 50 damage and burns 10. When you use another tool, charge this 2 seconds. How good is that? I think Mobalytics, yeah, it straight up calls it a bad power drill, and I don't disagree at this tier. 10 burn and 50 damage are basically the same thing. How this scales with tier will matter a lot. We don't know if it's affecting the charge speed, the damage values and burn values, or the actual cooldown of the item. This could be very, very good in the mid game, depending on how it scales, because if instead of getting cooldown reduction, it gains damage and burn value, then this card's going to do a lot more at silver than a power drill does. We don't know how it'll scale yet. And as a result, we don't know how good it actually is, because this is an item determined entirely by what its scaling is going to be. At bronze, yeah, I don't think it's impressive, especially on days 1 and 2, when you're most likely to be trying to get carried by a bronze item, because on days 1 and 2, you've seen the least number of shops to find a good density of tools, but also you have the smallest board space, so you can't really get that many tools on your board in the first place. I think this is going to be a powerful mid-game item. Maybe it'll be strong enough to take you to 10 wins, but we'll have to really see how good it is based on its scaling. That's going to matter a lot. Next up, we've got the MultiTool. It's a small silver item. Every 6 seconds, it hastes 1 for 1 and slows 1 for 1. If that's different than the live MultiTool, I honestly don't know. It looks broadly the same to me. I don't think I like MultiTool at all. There are better ways to haste in this character, better ways to slow in this character. 6 seconds is an eternity in the late game. It's not doing anything that seems like it's helping me win based on the items I remember and the items we've seen so far in the early game when you first find it. It seems wholly unimpressive to me so far. I don't always read what Mobalytics says about the card, but after I said that, I looked down and read. 610 in his reveal did confirm that it increases the number of targets each time you upgrade it, so it is a much better carrier of buffs for both slow and haste from Curio. I'm still not sold on it. Like, I know that I'll get blown out by a high-roll multi-tool at least once in a mid-game. I still don't think it's all that good. Next up, we have Nicola. I know it's a pun on Nikola Tesla, so I'm going to call it Nicola going forward, but it feels wrong to just breeze right over that hyphen. It is a small silver item. It is a 4-second activation with 2 ammo. It charges adjacent items 2 seconds and slows adjacent items for 1 second. And I've completely forgotten to analyze small items with how good is this when you make it shiny up until now. Because Nicola was the specific item where I was like, oh, when you make that shiny, it seems fucked up, doesn't it? I'm not sure there's a better item in Stelle to give shiny to than this. It's really, really good to have a 4-second multi-charge item getting multicast. This is going to be one of the most menacing things Stelle can do with Orbital Polisher, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the most deranged shit people can cook with it is. Next up, we've got the Observatory, a large gold item with a 6-second activation to charge an item 2 seconds. When you use a flying item, charge this 2 seconds. So essentially, if you're playing a big flying board, this will probably be pretty close to every 3 internals charge an item 2 seconds. I think there's probably something crazy you can cook with Observatory. Also, how does this upgrade to Diamond? That matters a ton on high tier charge items. If there is an infinite with Observatory, I'm not surprised, but I have such a hard time envisioning Stelle's board because of the start-stop flying mechanic that I cannot immediately process where Observatory fits into things, because like almost no item for Stelle exists in a vacuum. You can look at a Shark Claws and know what it does. Every single item with flying does not exist in a vacuum in the way that Shark Claws can. So it makes it really hard for me to process what Observatory is really doing, but I suspect there are some very strong things you can do with it. And for those paying attention alphabetically, we've just skipped over Orbital Polisher because we covered that at the start. Here we have Ornithopter, a small silver tier item with a 4-second activation, and an adjacent item starts flying. The cooldown of the flying item to the left of this is reduced by 1 second passively as well, and that seems really solid. I don't know what this does when you upgrade it. Like, I actually can't even guess because there's no way in hell this number's going up. That's not what it says. I'm guessing it lowers in cooldown, because it can't be both adjacent items start flying, because then there wouldn't be a diamond upgrade, right? I don't know how this upgrades. I do know that controlled flight on specific cards can be very valuable. Lowering the cooldown on a specific card can be very valuable. Just like immediately aerial turret with this on the end of the board next to it makes a lot of sense. You're going to get it to fly before it goes off, lower its cooldown to 6 seconds, and then it'll be down to 4-second cooldown with multicast immediately. Like, Ornithopter definitely has a place in the game. Stelle's gonna find ways to use this. Anything with passive cooldown reduction is a powerful effect, but I don't really know what this is for specifically. And honestly, being a small silver item, it doesn't need to be for anything. It just be good because it gives flying quickly and lowers a cooldown. It doesn't need to be more than that. Yeah, I'm not gonna overcomplicate this. The item's transparently really good. I was trying to find a home for it. Its home is the whole world. Where is it bad? Next up, we have Oxygen Mask, a bronze medium item with a 5-second activation to shield 10. And when you shield, gain 2 regen for the fight. Now that's the first time we've seen something where I remembered, oh hey, remember those kind of rapidly shielding items? Maybe this will synergize with them. Every time you shield, now you're gaining 2 regen on top of it. That's a lot better. It makes you more resilient to poison. It's giving you a reason to care about those rapid shield procs. I'm not convinced it's incredible, but it's certainly a good synergy piece for that archetype, and maybe it'll come together by the end of this. Next up, we have Oxygen Tank. This is another one that I think was revealed during the trailer. There's no one credited for it. It is a medium silver item with a 4-second activation. It heals 50 for each vehicle you have, which is a pretty terrible effect, to be honest. Like, I guess on day 2 or 3, this is a moderately good healing item, and it could be kind of crazy if you have multiple vehicles, but I have a hard time imagining this is ever going to be good for its active. It seems like you would care about this for its passive. When this is destroyed, gain 100 regen for the fight, but if you're playing a self-destruction build, don't you want the effects that kill your opponent? Because like this one doesn't. And it feels really important that after you destroy your board and make yourself more vulnerable to crowd control, you win immediately. I don't really see what the home for Oxygen Tank is. Obviously, in the super early game, if there's a way to destroy this that is not gold tier, just 100 regen's probably good enough, right? If there is any way beneath gold tier to destroy this consistently, then there's a way to use it. But on its own, I don't see the point in this beyond like maybe a power spike item in the early game if that destruction scenario exists. Anyways, moving on to Paper Airplane, a small silver item. Every 4 seconds, it starts or stops flying. This is a silver version of Flying Disc that doesn't deal damage. Yeah, Clockwork Disc is this item at bronze tier, but it deals damage. I mean, this is a vehicle. That actually matters. I'm not going to pretend. The fact this is a 1-slot vehicle does have value. I did not catch that initially. Now, that said, I feel like in any build where you're running this, you're also running Clockwork Disc. It is still probably not that often that you're going to be running this just the vehicle tag. I think it just lives in the same place that Clockwork Disc does. It's not a bad card at all. Just spamming start, stop, flying triggers. Like just with Mag Shield, there's a reason to care about this. I think there are other cards that give you enough reason to care about this. But I do think it's a lot more niche since intrinsically this item does nothing on its own. Next up, we've got the Parachute, a medium silver item with a 12-second activation. It gains 10 regen for the fight. And when your items start or stop flying, this item gains a 10 regen for the fight. The first time you fall below half health each fight, use this. That seems like it could be a lot of regen, but at the same time, is it enough to stabilize you? It could be, right? I can imagine that you get to half health around when this triggers at 12 seconds. You're playing a wide board with a lot of start-stop triggers. That, let's say you had 10 go off. That seems like a pretty modest estimate. You hit half health as this is triggering and you get 220 regen. Like, obviously on day 8, that's not good enough. But on like days 2 through 5, yeah. I look at this and I see sort of a conditional, more work required version of Life Preserver. Obviously, it's not a cheat death effect, but it is a 2-slot defensive stopgap that is kind of insanely high value. I think this is really strong. I don't know if it's good enough. Maybe I'm overhyping it, but I think I can easily envision a world where Parachute is a very, very, very strong card, and it's going to get you those same early wins that a Life Preserver does. I think it's going to be better in that role than Life Preserver is, provided you're building into that start-stop flying thing, which seems pretty easy to do thus far. Next up, we've got the Pill Buggy, a medium silver item, 10-second activation, shield for 40, and deal damage equal to your shield. That is a much slower force field. And passively, when this is hasted, it gains 40 shield for the fight, but that is when this is hasted, not when you haste. So it's not going to scale up that crazily. I'm not super sure how this works. The answer is probably there are other items, you know, like Mag Shield dealing a ton of shield, and then you use Pill Buggy to hit your opponent. I think there's just a straight up better version of that in class though, which does make Pill Buggy redundancy, so it still has a purpose. Yeah, this is fine. It's like kind of a bad spiky shield, but I think there's a use for that in class. I don't think this is a bad card, it's just niche. Next up, we have the Pilot's Wings, a small silver item with a 5-second activation to haste your flying vehicles for 1 second, and the passive effect of your flying vehicles have plus 10% crit chance. If both parts of this scale, then it's going to be very, very good in the flying vehicle build. And if only one part scales, if there's room for it on your board, it's obviously not bad. But I don't really have any strong immediate reaction to this card, to be honest with you. Next up, we got the Pinwheel, a small bronze item with an 8-second use time. It hastes 1 item for 1 second and gains 1 regen for the fight. Passively, when your items start flying, charge this 1 second. I don't think there are enough fly triggers for this being an 8-second speed item for this to ever be fast, and at base 1 regen value, 1 second to haste, this just looks really understated. This looks like it could afford to have basically any number on the card increased or its cooldown reduced, and it still would not become overpowered. I think this is just missing some numbers, really. Next up, we have the Pogo Stick, a medium silver item, 5-second activation. This starts or stops flying. It's a really generous thematic interpretation of what flight is. It's just jumping effectively. Anyway, when this starts flying, shield 100, and when this stops flying, charge adjacent items 1 second. So this is a lot worse if you're having to do both halves of start and stop with the Pogo Stick. You kind of want to assume that something else is helping, maybe so much so that it's more than just every 5 seconds start and stop flying. If you're only doing like the modest amount, every 5 seconds, something is giving you the start or stop trigger, the Pogo Stick does the other half. So every 5 seconds, shield 100, charge adjacent items 1 second. That's not bad at all. That's rock solid, honestly. At least in the early and mid game. It depends on how it scales with the late game, as always. If this charge value is going up, this is actually a very serious card. If it's just the shield value, who cares? If it's the cooldown going down, that's probably still quite good. I like Pogo Stick. I want to see how it works out. Depending on how it scales, it could be very, very strong. This is definitely one of the cards where how it's going to scale matters way too much. And also, the build this fits into is really hard for me to conceptualize. I don't think it's just a bad card. I don't know how niche it really is. I think it does something, and it's really cool, but I cannot tell you what it does. And for those wondering, I think that's a super valid take on cards. I have said I can't really conceptualize how this is going to play out a lot throughout this video. That's probably how you should feel a lot when you're looking at new characters. You should not look at most cards and think, oh, that's trash, or oh, that's insane. You should probably think, I don't know how that's going to work a lot of the time. Before we actually move on to the pressure heater with what I just said, To some degree, the purpose of this video is just to put all of the cards into video format for people who want that. It's not so I can tell you what's going to be meta blind going into the expansion like the rest of us. That would just be the blind leading the blind. It's really just to talk about all the cool new shit. Anyways, getting into Pressure Heater, it's a medium gold item, 6-second activation. Adjacent items gain 5 burn for the fight. When you use another tool or vehicle, charge this 1 second. That can actually be, it's a 6-second activation. It is sped up though. We've seen some when you start flying burn triggers before, which makes me interested in how strong Pressure Heater could really get. I like the idea of the card a lot, but we haven't seen enough burn items for me to feel confident that Pressure Heater can really do its job. We'll see when she gets here if this can work. So far, I'm not feeling it, but maybe the cards we're going to see soon will change my mind about that. Next up, we have the Private Runabout, another trailer reveal. It's a large gold item with a 7-second activation to deal 200 damage, and its cooldown is reduced by 1 second for each flying item you have. Since the Runabout itself is a large item, you have at most 8 items on your board, and you need 6 items to be flying to get this down to a 1-second cooldown. This is obviously not bad, especially if you get it fairly early on into when gold items are available, right? You can probably have builds where this becomes a 1-second, 200 damage item about 5 to 8 seconds into a fight. That doesn't sound impossible to me at all. And with only needing 6 item slots to be flying, that doesn't even sound super restrictive about how you construct your board. Like, it's a little bit, but not that bad. I think this is fine. I don't think you're going to look to play this as your late game build around on day 10 plus, but I think you can absolutely pick this up and become stronger with it in the mid game. And to be clear, any card that is good enough to be like a real valid strategy on days 7 through 8 can high roll and crush it on day 11 and 12. There is no item that is consistently viable in the mid game that cannot high roll and dominate a 10-win run. I'm not saying you cannot take it to 10 with Private Runabout or any other card when I make claims like that. Looks like we have another trailer reveal with the Propeller. It's a 4-speed item, and every time it goes off, an item starts flying, and then your flying items cooldowns are reduced by 10%. I can't imagine it's bad. There's got to be builds to do disgusting things with this. Basically, the only way for this to scale is with more cooldown per tier. I'm going to assume it goes up to 20 and not 30% at Diamond. There's no shot the Propeller is not good enough to go 10 wins in a lot of builds, but it's also not a card I look at and feel any particular degree of hype. Next up, we've got the Radar Dome, a large gold item. Every 4 seconds, one item starts flying, and then it has a bunch of quests. The quests are to make weapons, shield, or burn items fly 10 times, and whenever you unlock any of those quests, it unlocks an appropriate passive line giving that type of item multicast. So make weapons fly to give weapons multicast, shields fly to give shields multicast, burn fly to give burn multicast. So for a large item, make one item start flying every 4 seconds is pretty terrible. And I would guess it either lowers cooldown, increases the number of items flying, or gives one more multicast at Diamond tier. Those are all very different effects. So I can't really say how good I think this is at Diamond. Just judging what we're currently seeing at Gold, how likely are we to really care about multicasting your weapons, shields, or burn items if you have to give up 3 item slots to do it? And obviously, you're probably only running this in a flying build because you need to be a flying build to get the quest done in the first place. But additionally, you need to care about this active, probably. It's gotta be good, right? There's no way it's bad. Is it the best thing you can be doing? Oh, I have no idea. I think Radar Dome's probably a solid card, but I can't really, like so many other cards, I cannot envision how this fits into the larger build. Next up, another trailer reveal. The Ramming Balloon is a medium silver item with a 9-second activation. Deals damage equal to your shield, and it starts 1 shield item flying, and passively your your flying shield items have plus 50 shield. So this is, again, basically just the pill bug. They have different passive effects. This passive effect does seem a little bit worse, but being able to make something fly, even if it's a slow fly effect, is nice. I think they're both getting run because you need a spiky shield, and every bit of text on them that is beyond spiky shield text is kind of not important. So yeah, if you're playing like a shield stacking build, you're doing something like mag shield and you don't have a win condition, absolutely slap in a ramming balloon, slap in a pill buggy. Those things make sense to me. But these are just spiky shields, no more, no less. That's my impression, at least. The Red Lantern is a small bronze item. It gives adjacent items plus 10% crit, and if they're flying, it doubles that crit chance bonus. Now, compared to my beloved goggles, this seems like a much inferior way to do it, But at the same time, this is not a small amount of crit chance, right? This is Corzina Crest, but only on adjacent items, but doubled if they're flying. That's potentially a whole hell of a lot of crit chance, and this seems like a very, very good item. Even if I have a soft spot for goggles, because it's part of a haste build, and that makes it inherently good, Red Lantern seems easier to use and almost as good. I can't imagine this item being bad. It's just going to matter a lot if you can find its late game upgrades, because the difference in plus 40 and plus 80, which I assume are the silver and diamond values, is rather tremendous. Unfortunately, my beloved Rivet Gun took some heavy nerfs going into this patch. It needed to for the same reasons as Hammer. It is a small silver item still. It is no longer a weapon. It is a 6-second activation to charge the item to the left of this 1 second, and when you use the item to the right of this, charge this 1 second. Previously, all of the charging was just an entirely passive effect, and no matter what this scales to, it will be less than the old passive effect. Now, having said that, regardless of how this scales, this is still converting one fast item into charge on another item. We've already seen at least Aerial Turret that can become a multicast to 1-speed item. There are absolutely ways to get a ton of charge out of Rivet Gun that will matter a lot. It's just worse than it used to be. Is it super broken? No, probably not at least. The old Rivet Gun was super broken, it needed to be reworked, and hopefully this will be a healthier card now that we'll be seeing a lot more of it. Next up, we have Sandbags, a medium silver item with 2 ammo. It's got 4-second activation, and a vehicle starts flying. Passively, when one of your vehicles starts flying, charge it 1 second. This is good, at least insofar as targeted haste on specific items is always valuable. There are a ton of things that care about your item starting to fly. I assume that when this ranks up, the charge value goes up, right? If it's the ammo going up or multiple vehicles starting to fly, it's pretty useless probably. But if the charge value is going up as this increases in tier, I think this is genuinely a very good item. It's going to give you a lot of acceleration. I don't think this immediately strikes me as insane, but it looks like a good support item. Next up, we have the Security Drone, a medium bronze item, 5-second activation to shield for 20. And when an enemy uses an item while this is flying, charge this 1 second. Which makes this a Caltrop style card. You get this flying through one of the many other effects we've seen so far, and one of the many effects we are likely still to see. And every time your enemy does anything, it speeds up this a little bit. Its values don't strike me as high enough to be impressive. It's not bad. Certainly in the early game, there is way worse you can do than a flying security drone, but it doesn't seem particularly incredible to me. Next up, we've got Sirens, a medium silver item, a 6-second activation to slow it out over 1 second and haste it out over 1 second. And then for each adjacent vehicle or property, this has +1 multicast. So if you are ever running this, this is going to be 3 multicast, also known as the exact same as Diamond MultiTool, right? Either way, like I wasn't hyped about MultiTools and I'm not hyped about Sirens. If I was going to be hyped about one of them, I think Sirens is probably the better one at silver, but the worst one at higher tiers. I'm not thrilled for either of them, to be honest with you. Next up, we have the Sky Anchor, a medium gold item with an 8-second activation. It deals 100 damage and it stops adjacent items from flying. And when you slow, charge this 2 seconds. I mean, we've obviously seen stuff like Fire Hose and Flashbang that can dump a ton of slow, but dealing 100 damage isn't a big thing. And when you dump a ton of charge all at once, you activate this twice back to back and they're already not flying, right? I don't really get what Sky Anchor is for because of that. There's gotta be something I'm missing with Sky Anchor. Final verdict. I don't know what I'm missing, but when I look at this, I don't understand what it's for. Next up, we have the Skyliner, a large gold item. It's 10 speed, it deals 150 damage, it burns 30, and it has +1 multicast for each flying item that you have. So again, we've talked about this with the runabout. You could pretty conceivably have like 6-7 flying items. It doesn't sound like that much work. You can probably get most of that done before 10 seconds. If this has like 7 multicast, that's 210 burn. That is a damn respectable amount. It is conceivable that you're finding a way to full haste this thing, which would mean that it's going to be going off twice at like 15 seconds or so. That's before you even start talking about Shiny Nicola potentially coming into the mix. I can envision this being an incredibly powerful finisher. I think Skyliner is going to do some disgusting work. I'm looking forward to seeing what people can do with this. It might just be too strong. I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays. Of all of the things that I've seen that are strong, this feels like one of the most generically strong, just 7 multicast on a burn value that starts off very high. I think this is going to be a mainstay of Stelle builds for at least the opening week, because regardless of how strong it is, this is one of the simplest strong things that Stelle has access to. Next up, we've got the smoke detector, a small silver item, and when you burn, haste an item for 1 second. That's obviously a good effect. We've seen some burn triggers that can be fairly rapid. I'm not sure how good this is. It's obviously crazy in some off-class access for like ignition core stuff. Maybe not for ignition core, but there's some very rapid burning builds that would love a smoke detector that exists already. If Stelle has a build like that, smoke detector is going to be integral in it. Next up, we have the solar drone, a small bronze item. It's 8 speed, it shields 10, and starts flying when it goes off. When you burn, this gains 5 shield for the fight. There's been a lot of overlap between these burn and shield builds, but for an 8 speed item gaining that little shield, this strikes me as just being kind of bad numbers. It is at least a small item that will start flying on its own. It has the vehicle tag on a small item, which is a big deal. So there are definitely places where this will fit on the boards and be helpful, but the actual text on the card leaves me incredibly underwhelmed. What does not leave me underwhelmed is the Space Laser. I love this card to bits. It's a large gold item, takes 30 seconds to activate, and it just deals 10,000 damage. When you use a flying item, charge this 1 second. So the question is, can you make a board fast enough with enough flight or enough charge that Space Laser actually does anything crazy? Also, what does it do at Diamond tier? I think they've learned their lesson enough with cards like Primordial and Dualtron that this is not going to say charge 2 seconds. I think it's pretty self-evident that if that says charge 2 seconds, this thing's fucking busted. I'm assuming it either deals more damage, making it safe to use into the late days, or its cooldown goes down. If it is charge 2, we have a problem on our hands, but I'm almost certain it won't be. So, Space Laser, sick as hell. I'm very confident you can make it fast enough to be good. The question's just, can you make it fast enough to be great? Can you make it fast enough that it's just a consistent 10 win? We don't know yet. I think it's going to be at least solid. I'm really looking forward to playing with Space Laser. I love the idea of the card to death. Next up, we have the Spotlight. It's a medium gold item with a 10-second activation, and when it triggers, it doubles the damage and shield of the item to the left of it. It's very, very strong in a Spices sort of way, but also in a Spices sort of way. 10 seconds? Are you sure about that? My man. I can imagine Spotlight doing good work, situations where Spotlight is the best thing you can do, but I cannot imagine a situation where I want to be running Spotlight. Maybe there's something really cool you could do with it where you use like a shiny Nicola on Spotlight and that charge of flying item we saw at the start. Let me go figure out what its name was. The delivery drone, right? I can imagine a world where you're using like a shiny Nicola to charge a Spotlight and a delivery drone. The Spotlight doubles an item, the delivery drone charges the item that is being doubled. I can imagine a cool world here where Spotlight does something and it's not actually slow. But Spotlight is not necessarily the broken part of what we'd be talking about there, is how I feel about that. Next up, we have the Squirrel Suit, another medium silver. It is a 6-speed item, and when it goes off, it just stops flying. When you use an adjacent flying item, this starts flying, and when this starts flying, gain 6 regen for the fight. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like this. I can't even articulate why it feels slow and clunky to me. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe this is one of the best sources of fly and stop fly triggers in the game. But I look at this as like a 6-speed item that just gains 6 regen and triggers 2 uses of flight. And I feel like you could do better than that, especially in the late game. Next up, we have the Steam Hose. It is a medium silver item and has a 5-second activation to burn 12, and when you slow, this gains +4 burn for the fight. So this is one of the major payoffs for that slow archetype. Now, because of internal cooldown cap, I think it's called the Fire Hose was the other half of this that slowed all items. They both go off at 5 seconds. That means this is either burning 12 or 16 on the first use. It'll scale up a shitload for the second use, but it is notable that it is not scaling that much before then. I think it's cool as hell. I want Steam Hose to be viable. It looks like such an interesting strategy, but we're gonna have to play with this to see how it actually functions. I think Steam Hose has a build. I think the package is there. I just don't know how strong it is yet. Next up, we have the Steam Washer, a medium bronze item with a 6-second activation to burn 4. And when you use another vehicle, charge this 2 seconds. This is just one of those cards where I look at it and I'm like, are there enough vehicles, enough fast vehicles that this is a good enough burn item to make sense? I genuinely don't know that it is. I kind of feel like this just doesn't do enough. We'll have to see and play. Maybe I want to be underestimating it, but I don't feel like I am. I just look at the number burn 4 I'm like, ah, man, maybe at higher tiers, maybe there are enough vehicles. We've seen a surprising number of like one size vehicles, but it doesn't strike me as impressive number wise. Moving on to the Stellar Swallowtail, a large gold item with a 5-second activation. It deals 100 damage, it shields for 100. And when another item is hasted, charge this 1 second. When you use a flying item, haste that item for 1 second. Oh, so there are more haste payoffs than I had seen. I'm not sure how I feel about the Swallowtail, to be honest. It doesn't have any form of scaling built into itself. And while it will be a very, very fast item, it's sort of reminiscent of Tortuga being a large item with a lot of base value on the item, applying haste to the rest of your board. I feel like Tortuga probably does that a lot more effectively, but this is probably faster than Tortuga. It's certainly less niche. You don't need like the exact pufferfish setup that Tortuga kind of requires. I don't know how I feel about this, and I'm not going to rack my head trying to get to a solution. I'm going to play with it, see how it feels, and I'm fully expecting to be horribly underwhelmed by it. Next up, we have Stell's Workshop. Your tool's cooldowns are reduced by 1 second. When you use a tool, charge a vehicle or a drone 1 second. You think I know what infinite this makes? You think I can look at this and tell you what it does? I'm sure it's good, but is it good enough? That depends on how it scales, right? One of those numbers at least has to go up to 2 when it goes to diamond. I know it's not good at gold because I've played with gold library enough to just know that I do not respect this text, not on a large item. At diamond, maybe it's cracked. Maybe it opens up some completely brutal infinites, but I'm going to need a lot more experience with Stelle, and I need to know what it does on diamond before I have an opinion on this card. Next up, we've got the Tether as a medium bronze item, 8 seconds to activate, and one of your items stops flying. When you use a flying item, charge this 1 second, and when your items stop flying, shield 40. So this is sort of early game redundancy with what Mag Shield eventually does, but I mean, Mag Shield also supplies so much more start and stop flying than this. And this is, it's fine, question mark, maybe? I feel like most of the stuff that I've seen in Stelle really wants me to start flying, and then stopping flying comes secondary, and this is like trying to stop everything from flying for the payoff of a little bit of shield. I don't think this is bad. I think it's going to play better than it's reading to me, but I'm not particularly impressed by it, even assuming that I'm underestimating and be like, it's probably way better than I think it is. That just puts it to being like a mid card that's worth putting on my board. I don't really see what Tethers is doing here. Next up, we've got the big one, a medium gold item with 14 seconds to activate, and it destroys itself. When it's destroyed, deal damage equal to 35% of your enemy's max health. It's like Powder Keg, if Powder Keg could not be sped up at all. That's not true. You can use something else to blow it up. That's gotta be the plan, all right? But so far, the only thing we've seen was like the lava tract or whatever it was named. We need more triggers for self-destruction so far. If the big one is only being destroyed by lava tractor, this is basically not an archetype. If the other item destructions seem good and valid, and maybe we're getting somewhere, maybe we can do something. But right now, I'm still scratching my head and there's not that much left. So hopefully the last couple of cards will make sense of this archetype. Next up is Toolbox, a medium bronze item, 7 seconds to activate, and it hastes the tool to the right of this for 2 seconds. But more importantly, at the start of each day, you get a small tool. This is just an economy item. I can't imagine I'm ever running it for the active text that seems truly atrocious on the board. I'm just running this for economy. Is get a small tool good enough? That includes hammers, that includes orbital polishers. It seems like it's probably good enough. It's not like thrilling, but it's probably good enough. It includes wrenches, which we haven't seen yet, but I think still works the same. I don't remember thinking it was reworked. So skipping ahead just a little bit to the wrench, it is now a gold starting item, 4-second speed, deals 10 damage. At the start of each day, upgrade a tool of a lower tier, and while this is flying, this has double damage. So it does still do everything it used to do, but now it looks like it might be an actual item. Double damage while flying, if there's enough scalers for flying, could actually result in this hitting pretty damn hard, and with 4 speed, that's a respectable weapon. This feels more like something that I'd be thrilled to have on days 3 through 6 than something I want to build around in the late game once we're getting gold items. But still, that doesn't matter because it's got the passive text. It's that the start of day upgrade each tool that matters. And that coming out of Toolbox matters a lot, for Toolbox being not just a good economy card, but something worth having because it can genuinely give you power. Back to alphabetical mode, we have the Vortex Cannon. It is a large gold item, 4-second activation. It deals 25 damage and all items start flying. And when any player uses a flying item, this gains plus 25 damage for the fight, which, by the way, every item is a flying item. So every time anyone does anything, 25 more damage for this, in addition to helping all of your own triggers that cared about flying as well. This seems really good. I'm going to compare this to old Vat of Acid, where you could find Vat of Acid and be like, that's what we're doing now. It feels like you can do that with Vortex Cannon. If you have a board of fast items, put Vortex Cannon in. You kill them with Vortex Cannon now. And if your opponent's fast, you kill them even faster with Vortex Cannon, right? It feels like this is a large gold build around that is strong enough and self-sufficient enough to be the entire build in a box. I don't know that I like that about it. It looks transparently and incredibly strong to me. It is only 25 damage per internal. 100 increased damage per second, still pretty damn respectable. I think the fact that it's only 25 damage per global does matter a lot. I think if that were a higher number, like 50 or something, it might have been too strong. I think at 25, it's probably not enough to win on its own. Because again, it's just going up 100 damage per second, right? That's a lot, and especially on like day 5 or 6. But in the late game, you're going to need more than this, unless you've got it to diamond super early, obviously. I think that this probably requires you to have a pretty solid fly synergy build going with it, but that doesn't sound like the biggest ask to me. I think this is still very, very strong. Next up, we've got the Weather Machine, a large gold item, 5-second activation. When it goes off, 2 items start flying. You freeze an item on both players' boards for 1 second, and you slow all items for 1 second. So that's also feeding into that, what was it called? The Steam Hose? Yeah, the Steam Hose. It's feeding into that slow everything and then deal damage to your opponent by the slow triggers archetype. Obviously, if you have some way to scale for Proboscis and you find that, this is going to fit in incredibly well there. I don't know how good this is. Like, it's Fire Hose, and then in exchange for the additional item slot, it makes 2 items start flying, and it freezes an item on each player's board for 1 second. Is that good? I mean, if you're playing the Fire Hose build, it's probably worth doing, right? And also, by making your own items start flying, you are making yourself resistant to these slows, like these symmetrical slow effects. Flying doesn't just care about what other cards say about flying. It does have its own thing. It does reduce the duration of slows and freezes by 50%. So if you're making your own board fly, you're making this effect less symmetrical, more beneficial for you. I still don't know how I feel about Weather Machine. The slow archetype Stelle has is by far the one I'm most confused about and can't even really tell what it does without seeing it in action. Maybe Steam Host just blows them up like 8 seconds in. Maybe you just deal enough slows and scale burn hard enough that that's all you need. I don't know. I need to see what it actually does when I get to play with it. Next up, we have the Windbreaker, a medium silver item, 5-second activation to shield for 25. And passively, when your items start flying, this gains 25 shield for the fight. And while this is flying, this has double shield. That seems like an absolute shitload of shield, provided you have the start-stop flying triggers, right? On like day 2 or 3, this might not be quite as scary as it looks because you probably can't reliably have it. Like, obviously, the high roll Windbreaker on day 2 is completely unbeatable. But I think on average, you'll have like a couple of start triggers, maybe a 1 or 2 stop triggers. I don't think it'll be doing that crazy work until later, and later in a run is when you want to be doing more than just shielding for a lot every 5 seconds. But I do think this is just like good numbers, solid item. Next up, we have the Wrecking Ball. It is a medium gold item, 20 seconds to activate. It deals damage equal to 30% of an enemy's max health, and it destroys an item. When it starts flying, charge it 5 seconds. So theoretically, if you can stop it entirely through other items very rapidly, this is super broken. I don't think you can do that based on what we've seen. You can probably accelerate it a lot. You can almost certainly get this down to like 10 speed, no problem. But getting this down fast enough to reliably kill your opponent or even just break their build before they kill you, I don't know that we've seen that. Maybe I'm underestimating it, but 20 seconds feels like a pretty balanced number. Now, when you upgrade this, what number changes? That matters a lot. Does it go from 20 seconds to 15? Does it deal more damage? Does it charge for more? Really, really matters what changes when you upgrade this. At Diamond, it could be a menace. Now, that's it for Stelle items that have been revealed officially at the time of recording. However, there's a little bit more we can talk about. I will mention that Tantius Carrier exists. It's not actually a Stelle item. Here it is if you want to read it, but I want to talk about Stelle today, so I'm not going to cover this. But there are 5 items that haven't been officially revealed yet. As this video goes live, everyone should be able to just go to howbazard.gg and read the cards anyway. So I don't know which creator had them. I don't know why they didn't get revealed, but I'll go ahead and talk about them now. First up, we have the darts, a small bronze item with 4 speed. It deals 10 damage, and every third hit is a guaranteed critical hit. If you're playing a board where you're giving a bunch of things flight, we've seen things that give other items flight, things that scale damage on flight. By the time this goes off the third time, it will likely be substantially buffed and flying, so it will probably be critting for a much larger value than 20. Is it incredible? No, but it absolutely has a home in any sort of wide aggro Stelle, which I'm almost certain will exist. Speaking of that wide aggro Stelle, it looks like this is largely the package we're talking about with this set, because the next card is Rocket Drone. It is a small bronze item, 7 speed activation, it deals 5 damage, and while it's flying, it has double damage. Also worth mentioning, it has a ton of tags, being a weapon, tech, toy, and drone. So yeah, this is obviously just fitting right in, and that make things start flying and buff the damage of flying weapons sort of build using Gyro Jet and Karakara and all that sort of jazz. Next up, we have the Precision Calibers. It's a small silver item and a pretty massive part of the haste package, honestly. It's an 8-second activation, at least baseline, and it hastes all your other small items for 2 seconds. But if you have 7 or more items, its cooldown is reduced by 2 seconds down to 6. That's respectively fast for potentially haste almost your entire board for 2 seconds. It's not completely insane, but the values are good enough at base 2-second haste duration that I think you can do some pretty cool things with this, especially if you manage to find like a second Precision Calibers inside of your toolbox. Next up, we have Firecrackers, a small silver item with a 3-speed activation and 6 ammo. It deals 20 damage, and when this is destroyed, deal 5 times this item's damage. Passively, when it runs out of ammo, destroy it for the fight. I really like that thematically. In terms of its base value, it's not that impressive. You really need to find a way to buff this up. But let's say you just find like 1 bronze left-handed for plus 20 damage. That's 40 times 11 damage in 15 seconds. 18 seconds. That's still damn respectable. That is like half of your opponent's health as late as day 4 just from the Firecrackers, provided they let you live that long. Seems like a very solid piece of early aggro that will definitely fall off by the end, I think. Maybe there's a way to scale and accelerate this enough that it's actually just crazy. I really like Firecrackers. I'm hoping I can build something late game with them. It's also nice to see an ammo item that explicitly doesn't want more ammo. And lastly, we have the Hang Glider, a large gold item. It's a 4-speed to activate. When it goes off, all your other items start flying, and your flying weapons gain 25 damage for the fight. Passively, when your items stop flying, deal 125 damage. So obviously, the way you want this to work is you have a ton of start and stop triggers. You're going to have your items gaining 25 damage when this goes off, then they get stopped, causing them to, 1, be able to be buffed again the next time Hang Glider goes off, and 2, causing the Hang Glider itself to deal that damage. Ideally, in this setup, you have a way to make Hang Glider itself specifically start flying, and you don't have a way to stop it from flying. That way, it will be buffing itself and its own passive damage as well, because it is, of course, potentially a flying weapon. Really cool to cook with. A lot of different ways for that like early aggro build to flex out and be different sorts of Stelles. No idea what it looks like most of the time. Like so many items, I need to play with Stelle to see how it's really going to work. And I'm really looking forward to playing with Stelle. I hope you're looking forward to it too. This is going to be a long video, but I hope somebody enjoyed having this on in the background, hearing about Stelle cards, occasionally looking over me like, oh shit, yeah, that one is cool. I don't really know if this sort of video is necessary, but I enjoyed having like 2 hours to talk about all the cards, trying to commit them to memory a little bit before we start the season. And I think there's an audience for just hearing what all the new cards are without just manually browsing through how bizarre. Anyways, thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next one. Speaking of, I guess, smaller channel update, the next one is definitely going to be Stelle gameplay tomorrow morning. But ideally, I should be able to do twice daily uploads going forward, at least for the next week, with Stelle just coming out 1 video for Stelle every day and then 1 video for normal hero rotation. But hopefully just twice daily gameplay every day going forward should be doable. I think I've got the time for that. I think I can do it. It's going to require a lot of work though. Anyways, thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.